Happy Monday. This is day 29, and our text today is going to be out of Matthew chapter 21, 1 through 17. We are getting to Palm Sunday early. That's okay, because there's a lot to cover in the last week of Christ's life. As I make frequently, the synoptic gospels, so those that are laid out in a similar way, synonyms, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, a third of each of those gospels is dedicated to the last week of Christ's life. So the gospels are not biographies that are spending equal bits of time on everything. They really focus on the last week of Christ's life. The Gospel of John, half of the Gospel of John, is dedicated to the last week of Christ's life. So we're there already, early, before Palm Sunday, but I'm going to read this passage, Matthew chapter 21, verses 1 through 17. As they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, say that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. That is, say to the daughter Zion, "See, your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while the others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of them and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven." When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." Jesus entered the temple courts and drove out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. "It is written," he said to them, "My house will be called a house of prayer by you, but you are making it a den of robbers." The blind and the lame came to them at the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and teachers of the law saw all the wonderful things he did, the children shouting in the temple courts, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were indignant. So we're coming to the event. And by the event, I mean the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ, that go sort of hand in glove. These are the big events of all time, of all history. This is the climax, not just of the Gospel of Matthew, not just of the last week, and not just of the Gospel of Matthew, but really in Matthew's telling. I mean, it's pulling everything together from the first couple pages of the Bible. And the way it is woven together, I think, is beautiful and powerful. And the more I study the Bible and the way I see all these things that interconnect, even though it was written, over 1,600 years by 40 different authors in 3 different languages and 3 different continents, the unity of this book is just stunning. But I want to just reflect for a couple minutes here on the donkey. So the artwork is a 17th century piece by a Flemish artist. And as you look at it, it looks actually to me like a horse. I mean, I'm not sure I can tell a horse from a donkey, from a mule, honestly, being a city boy or a suburban boy. But looks like a horse to me. But the fact of the matter is it's really small. And in that sense, it's sort of comic. Jesus sort of dwarfs this thing. So a few things for you to understand. I mean, as Jesus is coming in on this parade, this is a notice to Rome. This puts Rome on high alert. This is such bad news to them. So the city of Jerusalem is packed with patriots that have come back for the Passover, which is a celebration of Jewish independence. Except the Jews aren't independent. Right? The Romans are in charge. And so we're going to go have a celebration of the fact that we used to be independent, but we're not independent now. So you can imagine lots of people who are coming back for the parade, a little bit too much alcohol, and this thing is going to go up in a bonfire. And Jesus does not have to create a scene coming in. They didn't know what he looked like. I mean, you got to step back in time. There was no Jerusalem Post back then that had pictures of Jesus. So they don't know what Jesus looks like. They got to have somebody point to him. And he doesn't come in with his 12 disciples. They sort of slip in at various times. They come under the radar. Nobody figures out who they are. But then he forms this parade, which is just to say to Rome, everything you don't want me to do, like, you watch me whip up this crowd. And this is bad news because the Romans do not have anywhere near enough soldiers on hand to put down a riot. And it's not like they can just call one up, make a call back to headquarters, and within 5 minutes you're going to have SWAT teams coming out. I mean, it'll take months to get message back to Rome. So this is a threatening situation. Pilate is not happy. But just so you understand some of the symbolism around this donkey, because this is significant. So Jesus rides a donkey in this parade, which is a little bit like, it's a little bit of like riding a 1975 Chevy notchback in a parade. And I say 1975 Chevy notchback because shortly before I turned 16, that is the car my dad bought. And I believe it goes down in record as being perhaps the ugliest car you can imagine. Here I am 16 and I'm embarrassed to get in the car that my family lets me drive. A notchback means it didn't even look like a Vega. It just looked like this dorky thing. And it was stripped. No radio, 3-speed, nothing in this car at all. So riding a donkey, as opposed to a war horse, as opposed to a big stallion, as opposed to something that made him look powerful and put him up above everybody else, he rides his little donkey in. So it's a statement of humility. By the way, which is very much like Jesus. He uses the term Son of Man. I'm going to have you look it up as your act today out of Daniel chapter 7. He uses the term Son of Man, which people think is humble. But it's not. If you read it in Daniel 7, 13 and 14, you're going to see claiming the title Son of Man is claiming that he's over everything, everywhere, and all power in the universe is being given to him. So he uses it, and it looks like it's humble, but the people that understand the symbolism, they get it. So part of the symbolism here is that this is a statement of power. It's a statement of power because there's a prophecy that goes with this. This prophecy is, Solomon had ridden in on a donkey. And the idea, Zechariah 9, is that the next king is going to ride in on a donkey. You'll know him because he's riding in on a donkey. So here's Jesus. A lot of people didn't know that, but Jesus rides in on a donkey. The religious leaders get it. By the way, a third thing here is this is not just a statement of humility, not just a statement of prophecy. It's a statement of power because he's getting a donkey. He's getting a colt, this little young donkey that has never been ridden. And he's going to ride it in a parade. Now, even I know that you can't get on a horse that's never been ridden, right? They don't like that. And yet, he's going to ride a colt in a parade. So, I mean, all kinds of people are waving and putting things down in front of it and waving palm branches, and this colt is going to walk. So that is a supernatural power over nature kind of thing that's happening. And then the last thing is that it's really also sort of for the Jews there, it's a statement of correction because he's not coming as the kind of warrior king that they're expecting. He's coming in a much more humble light. So there's a lot going on here. I would encourage you for your act today, look up Daniel chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. Write that out and think about Jesus as the Son of Man and this magnificent scene. See you tomorrow.